Hey, welcome to Mike the Baptist. Glad you came back. Glad we came back. It works better when everybody comes together. It's our second episode of the new year. And what'd you guys think about the first episode? Our new format is a little shorter, a little more condensed.
I think it went pretty good.
Yeah, it felt pretty good.
Haven't heard any negative comments.
No, and
we probably
need to
double our listening audience this year. They might probably get up towards 7 or 8 of them.
7 or 8. Well, I would have had to start out at 3.5. So
right.
There's some more of that weird math. Hey, welcome, Michael Koontz.
Jackson.
Glad to have you back here.
It is good to be back.
It is good, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep. H.D. Jones.
Brother MJ, good to see you.
Good to see you. 2 preacher friends of mine. I actually go to church with these 2 guys. And
at least once a quarter we see.
Once in a quarter, and occasionally, I'll pop in for something else. And I'm Mike the Baptist, and this is called Mike the Baptist, part of the Preacher Series. We've condensed it a little bit in time and people because we used to have 3 preachers and myself, but we're trying it with 2 at a time now and myself. And it, I guess it strokes our egos more because we get more airtime. That's not really true, and it wasn't even funny, but that's not an indication of the rest of the program, so don't go anywhere. Hey, speaking of the program, if you like the new version or if you don't, we want to hear from you. Comments at MikeTheBaptist.com. No. Yes. Is that how you do an email? Yes. Comments at MikeTheBaptist.com. Mm-hmm. Send us an email and tell us what you think of the new format. Tell us what you think of the program. Tell us what you're having for dinner. We just want to hear from you.
Tell us if you have some food that we could eat on air.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to kind of ask for that once in a while, and that we would critique your food and all that. And I don't think we tricked anybody. So how about this? Let's just be honest with them. We'd like some food, and we will tell you what we think about it, and we'll brag on it. Trust us, we'll do you right. So you make us some food, and find a way to get it to us, and we will talk about you. We will not only taste your food, but we'll talk about you, and it'll probably be good. Anyway, www.mikethebaptist.com. Visit, see all the old episodes, listen to all the old episodes, buy you a shirt, buy you a mug. Buy you something, and all proceeds go toward paying electric bills. So there you go. So in the new format, we're keeping the front porch visit because I think it's just great. I think the front porch is great, and you know me, I'm on a campaign in life to get people to visit again. Stop what you're doing and visit a little bit. So this is an excuse to visit. We're taping it so other people can hear us visiting, and hopefully it'll catch on. I hope you have some front porch visits at your home or in your car. You think about that for a while.
Right.
Speaking of the front porch visit, I was watching some old, I'm doing some purging. Somebody asked me recently, are you purging? Because they knew that I was going through some old videos and stuff and audio tapes and cassettes. I went through about 50 or 60 cassettes of old songwriter demos and stuff of mine. And
did you throw anything away?
I threw 2 cassettes away. My intent was to record all the cassettes digitally, which I did do the digital, but then I thought, if something happens to the digital, so I kept most of the old cassettes too. But anyway, I was purging. They said, are you purging? I said, actually, I guess I kind of am. I'm trying to go through things. But I came across a DVD of, I had a cousins reunion years ago, and I had everybody at that cousins reunion gather one evening and share stories about what they remembered about the grandparents. And out of that, one of the cousins mentioned that something that he had always remembered about our granddad was that if people came to visit at my house, I was raised by my grandparents, so I say at my house, if they had little kids, in a matter of a few minutes, my granddad would be on the floor crawling around with them and picking at them and playing with them. It didn't bother him a bit to just get right down there and play with them. I thought on the front porch visit today, it would be interesting to hear you guys and myself mention something that you do in your adult life that your dad did. Now, I'm using my granddad because he was my dad, but And I guess I started it right there because I am prone to mess with little kids like that, and I don't care a bit in the world to get down on their level and play. It doesn't bother me a bit. And I think back about why I do that, and I know why I do that. I saw that growing up. So I do that. And
now you just need help getting up off the floor.
I do need a little more help getting up off the floor. But there's another thing that I do, and I think it came from him, is wherever he went, he was looking for happy. He was just that kind of guy. He was just looking for happy. He was pretty positive, and he was all about doing something that was kind of fun, or just being happy, or maybe saying things to encourage somebody a little bit in a real casual way where it didn't look like he was doing it, but he was doing it. And I like to think I have some of that in me, and if I do, I know where it comes from.
So you like Joel Osteen?
No, that's a little different. That's a little different thing there.
Okay.
Can we buzz that?
Sure. In case... Thanks for bringing that up, because I meant to say something about the buzzer against the new year. If we're getting new listeners and they hear a buzzer and are wondering what that is, the buzzer has been with Mike the Baptist since day one, because Mike the Baptist was intended to be a program to talk about faith, Christianity, et cetera, in non-churchy language as much as possible.
You always ask for the impossible.
I do ask for the impossible, and so what did I do? I invited preachers to be here. So if you hear a buzz, it's usually because we're pointing something out that may be getting a little too churchy. Okay, so let's lay this over to you guys. HD, can you tell us something that you do that your dad did?
Yeah, you sent me that question, so just so your listening audience knows, Mike sort of primes the pump a little bit, and I thought...
If we pay attention.
Yeah, if we pay attention. I'm like, I can't really think of anything that my dad does that I do, but then I remember having this... epiphany. I don't even know how to spell that, but I had one.
It's got two F's in the middle of it.
Something like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So we grew up. We've always had cows. Always had cows. And Dad was one of those kind of guys. He never wanted the cattle prods where you shock the cows and everything. He just didn't think that was right to do that to them. Huh. And Dad always just had a way of calling the cows, and they'd come to him. To the point where, like, when I got older, I'd be like, I'll go check the cows. He goes, they won't come to you. If you don't call them like me, they won't come to you. So that's just something you did. So fast forward a few years, and Susan and I start dating, and she comes to visit us, and we go out. I want to go out and show her the cows.
I hope your call wasn't what ours was.
I want to go out and show her the cows, right? So we go out there, and, just doing what Dad did. I started going, suck, suck, suck.
Yes, that's what we did.
Suck. Come on here, girl. Suck. I have no idea why we say that.
Right.
Because obviously cows don't speak English, and I don't know why my dad did that. Maybe his dad did that.
No, we did in Arkansas. Only we went suck.
Yeah, I was like, so. And my wife is looking at me. I'm like, she grew up in like a subdivision, like they have sidewalks and stuff.
So she thought you were a man.
And she was like, "What are you doing?
Bring me out in the middle of nowhere."
Yeah, it's like Deliverance.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, but I was just like, I don't know why I do that, but it's what my dad did, so I do it.
This is so opposite of what I was picturing this front porch visit to be. So serious and great. Yeah. But that is odd.
Right?
They don't suck anything when they come up there. They eat grain.
Yeah.
Or hay.
Yeah.
So why are people out there calling suck?
I don't know, but they do.
That is great. That's hilarious.
You're welcome.
See?
Yep.
You do make me feel more normal.
I know. That scares the crap out of me, too.
That's awesome. So, just as a quick side note, did Susan want you to take her home, or?
I mean, she just thought it was odd,
Well, it is odd.
And she still married him.
Yeah. Especially when there's these like 1,200-pound animals start running at you, and she's like freaking out about it. But yeah.
So bizarre.
Yep.
Oh, I can't see. My eyes are so watery. All right. Thanks, H.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Koontz?
I got nothing on that level, man.
I can tell you how he's not like his dad. I never knew his dad, but I can tell you how he's not like his dad.
Enlighten us.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. All right. You're on.
So, yeah. You have to, when you edit this, you got to reverse it because we just can't follow that. So for my dad, a lot of people say that knew my dad. They talk about that I'm kind of like a carbon copy of him. And it's kind of an insult to Dad because Dad was an extremely good man. But there's there are things that I find myself doing quite often, and it's all because of him. As we're sitting here, you're talking about going through DVDs. It made me start thinking about camcorders and pictures and stuff, and I find myself taking pictures all the time around family in places that we go. That's what my dad did. My dad always was a camera dude. He had nice 35 millimeter cameras and would always take them on vacation. Of course, that transferred into the camcorders up on your shoulders, and well, Super 8 movies were before that. You know, he always had stuff to capture the moment. So I found myself throughout my life doing that as well. And then one that Janet did not appreciate early on, but learned to be very thankful for this, is there are certain things that I find myself hoarding. So, yes. For example, my dad, if you would go into his garage, he would have a shelf, and it would be gallon after gallon after gallon of whatever the laundry detergent was that Sam's had on sale. And he would buy a couple dozen of them, and he would be set for a long time. And there'd be different products like that around the house. Well, I started doing that with toilet paper. I'd see it on sale. When we first moved to East Tennessee, I started being responsible for groceries. And if I saw toilet paper on sale, I'm buying it. Well, I mean, we had cases and cases of toilet paper. And Janet would get mad about that because it was taking up so much space. But then you fast forward to March of 2020.
Exactly.
And it's like, I'm sitting on a gold mine, you know? And I've got I was like, Janet, you don't have to buy toilet paper for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. We are set.
That's awesome.
We never had to go out and buy any toilet paper during COVID. We just had so much of it. And I didn't really share that information back then because I didn't want to be broken into at the parsonage.
Yes,
you know?
your house would have been broken into.
But yeah, so at first she did not appreciate that, but she's learned to accept it and be thankful for it.
One question. Do you still have any of it?
Oh, yeah.
You do, from back then.
And oh, yeah. And, yeah. And I just kind of poke the fire a little bit. You know, every once in a while I'll throw in another thing of toilet paper on the grocery order just because it kind of gets her going a little bit.
Listen here now. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm getting pretty jealous because that 18-roll pack or something is like $29 or something now.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing.
Wow. Well, maybe we can make a deal here after a while.
Since you brought that up, we're right on the edge of our new time limit, but there's something that's bothered me for years, and I get caught up in the toilet paper aisle at the stores because used to, you bought a 6-pack. It was 6 rolls, and you got 6 rolls, and you knew what you're buying. Now, when you shop for toilet paper, it is so confusing because
that new math,
12 rolls equals 18 on one package, and the next package says 6 rolls equals 24. I get so lost in the weeds trying to figure that out, I just finally pick up a package and leave. Why do they do that?
I have no idea.
Okay, I just thought you might. Anyway, interesting front porch visit that went all the way from playing with kids in the floor to hollering suck to your cows to toilet paper. It's so interesting. Thanks for a good front porch visit. I don't want to comment any more than that. We're going to take a break, come back, and talk about some stuff we found in the Bible. Thank you for listening to and watching Mike the Baptist. We hope you get something out of these programs and that they bring you a bit of joy and hope. This year, we want to ask you to help us grow our listening audience by simply sharing these podcasts and video episodes with your friends on social media and in the real world. Our goal is simple: talk about our faith and how it affects our lives using common language, just the way people really talk. The message really is good news for people who are already churched up and for those who aren't yet, because the good news isn't something we're given to keep to ourselves. It's meant to be shared. So we're asking you to share this year by telling others about the foolishness and the fun on Mike the Baptist. Happy New Year. We're just Christians trying not to cuss. Hey, we're back. Glad you stayed with us. You know what? Bible is such an interesting book. I don't mean to go on and on and on about it, but it's an interesting book. And that's why I'll say that a lot of times at the first of this segment, because what we're about to do right here is talk about some stuff that's in the Bible. You know, the three of us go to church together, and we all are kind of studying the same thing on a week-to-week basis, according to how our kind staff has laid it all out for a year or a quarter or how you do that. But so we're all kind of on the same page, but what we're trying to do here on Mike the Baptist is talk about that stuff in a way that you don't have to be at our church to understand it. We're trying to dumb it down enough for ourselves where it just kind of sounds like talking, but still has some meat to it to anybody that might drop in and listen to us. That's kind of the intent here. You know, our folks we go to church with will be familiar with what we're talking about because they're talking about that too during the week. But anyway, the Bible is so fascinating to me because you can talk about something out of that Bible and you don't have to be in cahoots with anybody else on that. It talks to you. Every time you talk about things in the Bible, it just talks to a person individually. Isn't that fascinating? Mm-hmm. I don't know any other book that does that. I don't know any other book that comes close to doing that. Any other book is specific to a subject, and it could be right, could be wrong. That Bible, you can just start having a conversation about something you read in there, and then lo and behold, before long, it's nailing you down inside, you know, in a real personal way. But anyway, fascinating book. And I'm going to turn it over. The preacher's going to talk about some stuff they found in there this week.
We've been reading through the book of Job, and, you know, just a big picture of Job. You've got a gentleman who is trying to live his life righteously. He is a very wealthy guy, a very blessed guy. He's got a bunch of kids. He's got a bunch of animals. He's well respected. He even tries to make sure that his kids are doing the right things. And right after we hear about all that, we hear about this encounter with God and Satan in heaven. And Satan pretty much just, you know, he's a punk, by the way. He pretty much just says, well, no wonder Job likes you, because look at all this stuff you've given him. And so God says, well, I'll tell you what, we'll see. You can take some of that stuff away from him and see if he still follows me. And so then you see all this tragedy come into his life. I mean, he loses all of his children, loses his livestock, his health goes bad. It gets so bad, his wife says, why don't you just curse God and die? Job then has these friends who come and sit down with him and talk to him, but kind of the underlying theme is that they all think he's done something, they just don't know about it. In other words, they come from that perspective. Good things happen when you do good things, and bad things happen to you because you've done bad things. We just don't know. So are you sure you did this right? Are you sure you did that? And Job's just really confused, to be honest. And he's questioning God, and he's upset with God. And it's a disturbing book, I think, for us to read, because it leaves this question in our mind: why do bad things happen to good people, mm-hmm. and why do good things happen to bad people? But what about this book surprises you? As you've read through or know a little bit about the book of Job, what surprises you in it?
Well, you know, the surprise is that this is all a part of God's plan, because we know nothing happens that God does not allow to happen, and that, you know, that God cannot use for fulfilling his ultimate plan for us. But it doesn't surprise us from the aspect because we get to see the end of the story. We're blessed to have the scriptures completed, and we can read through it and see, oh wow, all through this, however long this took for all these horrible things to happen in his life, we can see how God, his plan was accomplished. And it is such a great teaching moment for us now as we go through just all kinds of various types of hard situations in life. But so that kind of surprises us, but doesn't surprise us. But that God would do that as a test or to help grow us, it still messes with my brain. Because I still kind of think, just because I'm Michael and I'm not very smart, and I forget, God knows everything. He's the smartest. I'm like, isn't there a better way? Couldn't we have done this a different avenue than causing somebody to go through something so horrible? But that's when we kind of slip away and stuff like that. But we have to always use that discipline and remembering God's ways are good.
The story of Job is so drastically different than any other story in the Bible. To me, that when you start talking about Job, it's like, in a way, it almost doesn't even fit. When you think about it, it's just so drastic. What happened to the guy? So drastic.
And for being such a good man.
Yes.
Because he was an exceptionally good guy.
Yeah. So on the surface, I guess if you didn't know much about what God was up to, you would wonder, why is he doing that? That's not very nice.
Right.
Can't be a very loving God to do that. Of course, I guess a lot of people look at a lot of people kind of look at God as doing things bad to people, which he doesn't do. Or I don't remember any instances where he did something bad to somebody. He allowed some people to go through some bad stuff, but are there instances where he did something bad to somebody?
They'll have to wait for Inny or Outty. That's another part of the program.
So. Well, for instance, like Job,
right.
he took some things away from Job, but did he do anything bad to him? I don't, that's
right.
a whole new conversation to stir that up. But it's just so different a story.
It is a shocking story because I forget it's 40-something chapters, and literally in chapter 1 we see Job has all these blessings, and before you get out of chapter 1, they've all been taken away.
Yeah.
And the rest of the book is Job wrestling with this idea, why me? Why did all this bad stuff happen to me? I was trying to do right things. I was trying to be what God wanted me to be. And I think that's part of the reason it's in the Bible, is because it helps us to wrestle with these concepts, because
we experience them.
They're real.
Yeah.
They're absolutely real. And I know we've all experienced these things, but especially as pastors, sometimes we get thrown into some crazy messes. Years ago, I had somebody that was just in our association, and he said, "Hey, my grandson's in Vanderbilt. Can you go down there and visit with him sometime?" This is probably a 2 or 3 year old kid. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And I happen to be downtown. I go to Nashville. I'm new in pastoring, so I didn't know what I could do and what I couldn't do. Y'all, I literally start walking through doors, not because they were open to me, but doctors were walking through them. And I just walked in behind the doctor, and I get into this ICU unit, which I should have never really been in. And I walk in this room, and here's this kid, bandaged, head over his eye, bandaged over one eye. He's laying there lifeless. He's alive, but he's laying there lifeless. And the dad is curled up in a fetal position in the corner. And I was not prepared for that. I said a few probably churchy things. I said a prayer, and I got out, and I was PO'd. I was mad at my friend who wanted me to go down there and visit this kid, but then I was kind of mad at God. I was like, this is not right. And one of the things that we have to wrestle with in this life is when we feel like God has disappointed us, is it okay for us to get upset about those things? Is it okay for us to get mad? How'd
you work through all that?
Yeah, matter of fact, I talked to a lot of my buds about it.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time talking to God about it. And, I think it's just hard. Just life presents these circumstances to us that are hard, and I think we just have to deal with it. It's part of life.
And that's I kind of will lump pastors into this category of first responders because of the stuff that we deal with, and that's what a lot of our law enforcement, medical, fire people deal with. We had a really bad call a few years ago when we got into a situation totally unexpected of some of the most extreme child abuse that you could ever see. And you're talking about little bitty kids that had been caged up for years, and they were innocent when they went into this. I mean, they weren't even old enough to know really, right and wrong, that kind of stuff. And that's why we have a lot of people that really struggle in those professions that, how could God allow this to happen? And man, we have got to just keep on sharing like what you did. We got to talk to God. We got to talk to our buddies about it. We got to understand, what, that's not really what God wanted in his perfect plan. He didn't want that abuse to happen, but he's put us here now to try to help bring some love and some comfort and hopefully bring some level of peace into such a horrible situation to walk in on.
And that's part of that. We talk a lot here about people who maybe have shied away from God, and that's always one of those big questions. If your God is so loving, why do children have cancer? Why does somebody who wants to have a baby can't get pregnant, and then somebody who's throwing their baby away in the dumpster gets pregnant time and time and after again? And that was part of Job's journey, and I think this is why this book is important for us to read. It's interesting that God will finally look at Job and say, okay, you've questioned me enough. Now I'm fixing to answer you, and I'm fixing to ask you questions, and you're going to stand and answer me like a man. If you've ever gotten in trouble as a kid, from your dad especially, and he'll say, okay, big boy. Now you're going to stand here and you're going to tell me why you did this. What'd you do and why'd you do it? And you're like, I don't know. No, I don't know is not an answer. And God kind of does that with Job, takes him to the woodshed and said, you're going to answer me like a man. And then God begins to go into this elaborate statements about who he is. Did you know where Leviathan lives? And can you harness him, which is a sea monster? And do you know where the rain is held? And do you know how the sun shines? And he basically starts to put back on Job that this whole concept of playing God, and that's what we do in those situations. Well, God, if I was God, that child wouldn't lay there in this bed. And God's like, I see more of than what you know. I see more of this situation than what you understand. And that comes back then to our faith. And one of the things that Job says that really is striking is at the end of the conversation, Job really says, I'm an idiot. That's basically what Job says. I should never have opened my mouth. But he says at the end of it, he said, before all this happened to me, I had heard about you, but now I have seen you. And none of us like to go through difficulties. There's not a person here who goes, man, I hope I go out here and have a car wreck and have problems today. None of us. But the reality is that God seems a lot more real in the times that we're the most desperate. He really does. And that's, to me, one of the things about the story of Job. It's shocking. It's hard to read. It just hurts sometimes because we've all been in that situation when, honestly, we've been mad at God.
Is it not the case that God doesn't really just do magic tricks for you at all? There's always a little bit of a thing you have to do to come out of things. You have to. And it's like when Jesus was roaming around teaching people. He often asked them a question, and they had to think and realize on their own as they were answering that their position and what they thought. But isn't God kind of the same way with us in our life? If your car's broke and you're screaming to God to give you a car, quite likely He's not going to give you a car, but things will happen where you will have to think about not how you're going to get out of a situation like that, but maybe how you got into that situation, or you might start noticing things that are taking place around that to put you back into. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't think God really just.
Well, some of the examples that we see, like the miracles that Jesus did, there was a level of faith that was required. The first miracle of the Bible, turning water into wine. Well, Jesus's mother had faith. My son can do something about this.
Yeah.
The lady that just wanted to touch the hem of the garment to be healed, she had a level of faith. So, there is a requirement, I believe, there. He wants us to have some faith that he can handle this stuff. So
why would the common man, that being me, at the table, why would it have to be that way? I wonder why he wouldn't just.
We have this little pithy statement that we have at church. Let's say a group wants to go on a mission trip, and there's some 15-year-old kid that wants to go on a mission trip, and the mission trip costs $300. Well, we know that this 15-year-old kid may not have $300 sitting in his back pocket, but we always use this term. He's got to have some skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's $50 for a deposit or something, you've got to have some skin in the game. Well, think about that with the miracles of Jesus. Jesus could have called air to turn into wine. He could have fed 5,000 people with no fish and no loaves. He wanted them to have a little skin in the game, and he wanted to ask those questions so that people began to have faith. Matter of fact, at the feeding of the 5,000, he says, "What do you have?" And them old boys, the apostles, "Well, all we got's this sack lunch." And he kind of, I think, is laughing because he's like, "You don't even have really a sack lunch. What you have is me." And that's what you needed was me. You didn't need the sack. Jesus didn't need the sack lunch to feed the 5,000 people. But he's trying to get them to understand that he's really all they have. But, oh, by the way, he's really all they need.
Would it be safe to say that everything he is bringing you out of or going to do for you, he's doing it to bring you toward him? Would it be safe to say that? Because that would kind of make sense about why you would maybe have to think, or why you'd have to have a little skin in the game rather than him just perform a magic trick and everything's fine. That thought process or realizing things that are going on around you is bringing you back toward him, which is all he wants, isn't it? Isn't that all he wants?
You've probably seen this in your world. I had friends whose mom and dad provided the brand new vehicle when the child turned 16, and the kid never took care of it. And then I saw the other friends whose mom and dad said, "For every $100 you put in, I'll put in $100." And they helped them, but they were skin in the game. That kid, man, he's cleaning, waxing his car every weekend and parking way off and doesn't want door dings. And it may have been the crappiest car at school, but he cared about it because he had that skin in the game. And I think that's part of this, is that God wants, again, our faith doesn't have to be an ignorant faith. I can pray, "God, help me love my wife more." But if I never go in and try to do some of that on my own,
it ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
You can say, "God, I need a new job." But if I never do my resume and I never ask anybody, "Has you got any openings over at the plant?" There's a point where we have to have some faith, and we walk by faith. Yes, there's going to be difficulties, and I don't think we're supposed to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. I don't think that for the minute, that it's all up to us. But I think God wants to work in conjunction with us to help us see, number one, he's the resource, or he provides the resource because he's the source of everything that we need. But we can't just be lazy about it either. We've got to do some of the work.
Deep.
One of the last things I just kind of throw at you is that, we talked about what troubles you about Job, the book of Job. One of the things that really kind of just jumps out at me is that God's the one that throws Job under the bus. Satan comes into God's presence and kind of gives a report. And God looks at Satan and goes, "Have you considered my servant Job, which goes back to this idea that nothing that happens to us, I'll say especially as the children of God, nothing happens to us that didn't come across his desk that he okayed. And I'm going to tell you, that's hard. That is hard. You know, I don't even know how to wrap my mind around that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
But it's hard.
And what a compliment it is also to Job.
Yeah.
Because here, out of every person that was on the planet at that time, God says, Job.
Yeah, here's my champion.
Here's Job.
Yep.
And I know this man inside and out. And try him. Just try him.
Yeah, I think it's just a good reminder again that God's working in our lives. Mm-hmm. His purpose is to make us more like Christ. Paul talks about, I think it's Romans chapter 8, he talks about all these groanings in this life, all the difficulties we go through. And Paul says, these will be nothing compared to the glory that's given to us in Christ. And so that's where we have to have a positive attitude, hope, looking forward to there's going to be a better day coming. That's not pie in the sky. That's just a reality that, yeah, today may be difficult, but for Christians, you're one day closer to finishing the race. You're one day closer to being home when all this stuff is going to be fixed. So again, to our listeners, if you're out there wondering, do I really want to follow this God? He allowed this bad stuff to happen to Job. Well, he did allow it, but he also walked with Job, and he also protected Job from the ultimate annihilation to happen to him, and he also restored Job, and he also communicated with Job, and he also grew Job through it. So there's a purpose to our pain. We will never like the pain.
Yeah.
We will never like the
Well,
pain.
no, nobody will.
I always use the illustration, when I was a boy, when I was young, I had pneumonia like several times. And we had this crazy doctor down in Madison, Dr. Carney. And I knew if you went to Dr. Carney, you were going to get a shot. He did not believe in pills. He wanted to give you a penicillin
shot.
That sucker would look like it was about this big.
I've had a bunch of those.
And you'd limp out, and the next day it hurt worse and worse. You couldn't hardly walk. And I remember, what is it? Happens to me once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Twice, shame on you, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Fool me once.
There you go. That's it.
There you go.
See, it takes 3 goofballs to come up with this wisdom. But I remember the first time it happened to me. And then the next time I got pneumonia, and my mom says, we got to go see Dr. Carney. And I cried the whole way there and begged her, don't take me to him. Please, don't take me to him. Please. Why? I didn't want to go through the pain. What I now know as an adult is I never went in the hospital. Why? Because the pain that I had to endure helped me to get better without getting worse. And a lot of things that God allows us to go through, it's not just so he can, here, let me squish on HD today, see how he's going to respond. He already knows how I'm going to respond one way or the other. But he allows us to go through those things to make us better, and then we're better prepared to help others who are going through difficulties. We're better prepared to have our relationship with him grow. It's never fun. Nobody ever chooses pain.
No, it's
Nobody.
not fun.
No.
The difference here, I always like to throw a little bone out to the potential listener who is not bought into this yet. Here's a good reason to buy into this. All this pain we're talking about, if you don't have anything to hope for at the end of that, you're just going to be that much more down every single time, and it's just going to be worse and worse and worse. So if you're feeling that, here's the difference in being a, quote, Christian or not Christian. A Christian has some hope at the end of that.
That's right. And
a Christian knows that they're going through some crap. But you're always hanging on to that hope that at the end, and it's a hope, but any Christian who's been a Christian very long will tell you it's not just a hope, it's a promise.
Yep.
At the end of these hard times, the promise is that he'll be there, and he is, and every time that happens, it makes it easier to go through the hard times. I mean, they still hurt, but it's easier if you've got something to hope for at the end of that. If you're not a Christian, make yourself one, and you'll understand that in a pretty short time. it's better to have something to hope for.
We're one of two people today. We're either a child of God, that God is fighting for us and with us, or we're not a child of God and He is fighting against us. Both of those children will go through difficulties because they live in this world. I don't care if you're saved or you're unsaved. You're going to go through difficulties. You're going to go through hard times. You're going to have health, wealth, relationship problems. Both sets of people are having difficulties today. One has somebody walking with them and helping them. The other one literally has God fighting against them. It's pretty much a no-brainer, but
it is.
But He has to wake you up to that. So if He's waking you up to that, say yes.
Yeah, just say yeah, and yeah, just say yes. Okay, all right, we're going to move on. Come back and say yes or no to Inny or Outty. We'll be back.
Thank you for listening to and watching Mike the Baptist. We hope you get something out of these programs and that they bring you a bit of joy and hope. This year, we want to ask you to help us grow our listening audience by simply sharing these podcasts and video episodes with your friends on social media and in the real world. Our goal is simple: talk about our faith and how it affects our lives using common language, just the way people really talk. The message really is good news for people who are already churched up and for those who aren't yet, because the good news isn't something we're given to keep to ourselves. It's meant to be shared. So we're asking you to share this year by telling others about the foolishness and the fun on Mike the Baptist. Happy New Year. We're just Christians trying not to cuss.
Hey everybody, it's time to play America's almost favoriteest new game show, Inny or Outty, where we challenge our guests to figure out if a phrase we give them is actually in the Bible or out of the Bible. Sharpen your wits, guest. You're about to be in the hot seat of Bible stuff, because you're the next contestant on Inny or Outty. Here's Mike.
Fun on the horizon right here, folks. Inny or Outty is so much fun. It's just fun. And it's funny sometimes. It's funny that you don't know what you think you know. And you grow up, you get these things in your head about what's in the Bible, and it's just like you don't ever really stop to kind of wonder, is that maybe not in there? So in a little over a year's time, I've learned a lot of things that makes me a little more cautious if I'm talking in intelligent circles about,
Let's talk about those intelligent
How
circles.
many of those circles do you get in?
You know what? Actually, this may be the most intelligent circle I get in.
Which is really a scary thing. Lord have mercy.
As this episode of Inny or Outty is going to tell us.
Yes. We're about to find out. HD, what do you have for us?
Let me go to my magical list.
Yes.
So, in the Bible.
Uh-huh.
Or not in the Bible.
Or out, which would be an Outty.
I have.
Oh no! Is this another list?
I have
of words?
I have 5 words.
Oh, he does. Yes.
Yeah.
He's killing
It's
me.
kind of his thing.
5
now.
words. I know I get stuck on these.
We don't even get a 50-50 shot at this. It's like
No, it used to be when he started. It was like 3 words, and then it went to 4. Okay.
This is 5. I want to make you think.
Okay.
This is about alcoholic drinks or that kind of drink in the Bible.
Okay.
Beer, wine, strong drink, cider. Beer, wine, strong drink, cider.
I got this down again.
You said 5. That's only 4.
I'm sorry.
Beer,
Wine, strong drink, cider.
One of those you're saying is not in the Bible.
One of those is not in the Bible. 3 of those are in the Bible. One of those is not in the Bible.
Okay, Koontz, let's do this. Let's win.
So I know wine and strong drink are both in there for sure. Know that.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
Well, strong drink is the one that is 100% condemned. Don't ever have strong drink.
Okay, don't do that.
So we have beer.
Yes.
Or we have cider.
Beer or cider.
Beer
so
or
what was
cider?
Cider is just a vinegar type drink.
I think apple cider or something.
I think cider was probably in there, but you know what? Beer. They were
gut
making
says
beer.
cider too, though.
I think they were making beer in those days.
Well, when you talk about
I don't
beer,
know why
I'm
I
thinking
think
of
that, but-
Friar Tuck, from Robin Hood. That was his favorite thing. I think it was beer that he carried.
But that
around,
goes a
wasn't
little
it?
further back than Friar Tuck.
But exactly. So I'm thinking cider would be the other one that would be in there.
That would be in the Bible?
I think cider would be in there.
I kind of think it would be because, well, wine is just a vinegar, almost vinegar. It's a fermented, and the next step is vinegar.
Is there a certain translation of the Bible that we should be considering? Are we using the easy read version?
No,
The new language
it's
translation?
been a while since I did this, so.
But you know what? You know what, Koontz? There's something that makes me think. In my past, I've been involved in a conversation about beer.
Michelob.
Michelob was not in there.
Oh, okay.
But I want to say that beer was mentioned in the Bible.
Well, beer would be classified as a strong drink.
Would it?
Yes, because a strong drink is what would require you to add something extra for that fermentation to kick into that high degree of alcohol content. So beer is a strong drink in modern terminology or understanding.
Tequila is not in the Bible,
Tequila is,
But it's a strong drink.
but it is a strong
would be
drink.
covered under that.
It would be.
Well, so what you're saying is you think cider.
I would lean towards cider being in there and beer being the Outty, unless we have the 2024 version translation of the
2020.
Bible. We were really doing a time jump.
I don't recall ever hearing the word cider. The only
don't
thing I'm
either.
thinking, Koontz, is that cider would have been something that was probably around in those days.
I can go along with that.
But you don't think that's right.
Well, I mean,
You see how I picked up on that?
I can't.
Pretty sharp when it comes to
I can't
perception.
picture beer. That word
In the Bible?
in the Bible.
Oktoberfest, was that a thing?
No. Beer pong wasn't either.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
I'm going to go with you on what did
Beer
you
as beer. Beer not being in the Bible.
Beer not in the Bible. I think cider would be in the Bible because I think it would have been a thing.
Yeah. So we're going to say wine, strong drink, and cider are in there.
Yeah, we're going to say beer.
Is the Outty.
H, I believe that we've come to a
So how are we doing on this second week of the new year?
Wine and strong drink are definitely in the Bible,
Here we go.
he's teasing us.
and so is beer.
Oh, really?
Cider is not in there.
Where was beer at? Do you
Wow.
remember?
Nope.
Okay.
Cider is not.
No, it probably was a thing, like you said. I mean,
Yeah.
a vinegary type drink.
I thought that I had heard somewhere in my past that beer was, because I was surprised that somebody would have
beer's in there.
discovered beer back
Yeah,
then.
beer's in there.
Interesting.
It seems like a newer.
It does seem
concoction.
like that's just because all the beer ads you see
Right.
and stuff.
But yeah,
All right,
cider.
so we have a loss,
I have a loss. Again.
but it's a good one.
Yes. Let me mark my thing.
Yes, mark it
Don't want to
as
ask that next week.
no.
Oh, please do.
Okay, Koontz, what do you have
Be
for
like,
us?
cedar's in there. Cider.
Cedar.
Cedar's
Cedar
in there
is
too.
in there.
Yeah, they're both in there.
Yep.
What do you got for us, Koontz?
All
Lay it on
right.
us.
So it was last year around June. We went to the Southern Baptist Convention. They always have these booths set up, and we talked to a guy about doing a Holy Lands tour. Maybe getting that together for the church,
Right.
because I've never been. I don't think you've ever been. And we thought that would be a great thing for us to do. Of course, then the war broke out. So the term Holy Lands, do you think that's in the Bible or not?
The term Holy Land.
Holy Lands.
Yeah, I think it is. Gut.
My initial response is no.
All right, well, let's talk this through.
Zion, Holy Mountain.
What's the Holy Lands now? Like Jerusalem and all that? And that wasn't a Holy Land at that time, was it? What? Well,
What's the Holy Lands now? Same as it has always been.
I wanted to clarify, what we mean when we say
Right,
Holy Land.
right.
Because back in those days, I'm pretty sure they didn't have Holy Land tours.
No, they did not.
You know what I'm saying?
Jim Baker led those.
That's more of those stories. You're saying you don't think it is?
I mean, obviously Mount Zion is Holy Mountain to the Lord.
Holy place.
Yeah, I don't know
Holy
if Holy
temple.
Land. Promised land.
Holy ground.
Holy ground.
Is promised land, is that phrase even in the Bible?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. That's my next Inny.
Yeah, you better. Hold on, crap. I mean, I had something else I was thinking. Dadgummit. Being over 50 is terrible.
What did you say? Did you say yes, you think it is, or no, you don't?
I don't think the phrase "holy land" is in there.
I don't either, because I don't think there was a land at that time.
There was land at that time.
Well, I mean, like a holy land where they're going.
And Jesus walked all over that land.
Wait a minute. Going to the land where... no, I'm going to go with HD. I don't think...
Let's be confident in our no,
Yeah.
and be ready for
defeat.
the lash that's coming.
We're a no.
No.
So it's an Outty.
Yep.
Yes.
Now, the first question we got wrong, correct?
We did get it
Yeah.
wrong, correct.
Yes, okay. So we're going to continue the trend as
Okay.
last week.
All right.
You all got that one right.
Oh,
And it's not in there, so you are 1 for 2.
Nice.
go.
1
The
for
math
2. I
works.
understand that
Yeah.
better.
The math works. Holy ground,
Right.
yes. But Holy Land, I believe, it was in some of the extra biblical texts, like Maccabees or Book of Wisdom or something like
Whenever
that.
looking back and
So,
talking about.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very good.
Yeah, so, well done,
Here
guys.
again, this is good to know. It's good to know to appear a little smarter in certain circles when you're talking about this. You know, if you ever get called out of the crowd, like at the Southern Baptist Convention, hey, come up here. We want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Those open panels. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, don't do that.
Nope.
Okay, very good. Very entertaining. And once again, learned a little something about what's in there and what ain't in there. Inny or Outty, big fun.
Oh, wow. What a great contestant and a fine sport today on Inny or Outty, America's almost favorite new game show. Study up, future guest people. You're next in the hot seat for Inny or Outty.
Hey, we're glad that you joined us. We were happy to be here. I could tell on the look on these guys' faces, they were tickled to death to be here. And I was too. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad we've cranked the new year up and kind of getting back in the saddle with Mike the Baptist. We do want to hear from you, Mike the Baptist. No, comments at MikeTheBaptist.com. I know more about modern technology than I sometimes appear, but I know how email works. We want you to send us one and let us know what you think about the new shorter format and the things we've trimmed, and if you're happy now. We want you to be happy. Hey, remember, folks, we're just Christians.
Tried.
Not to cuss.
Yep. You do that too, okay?
Mike the Baptist.